Let me tell you something real right now. There will never be another you. Not yesterday, not today, not 10 years from now. You are one of one. So why are you out here trying to be a copy when you were born an original? See, the world will try to box you in. It will try to define you, put a label on you. It'll say you're too this or not enough that. Too loud, too soft, too ambitious, too quiet. Forget all that. Be confident, be you. You were born original, completely unique in every sense of the word. From your fingerprints to your thoughts, your experiences to your dreams, there is no one on this planet with the exact combination of qualities you bring to the table. But somewhere along the way, life starts teaching us to conform. It teaches us to blend in, to quiet down, to fall in line. We start trading authenticity for acceptance. We start wearing masks to fit into places we were never even meant to belong to. And that's the danger. Because the moment you begin to live like a copy, you start silencing the very thing that makes you powerful. You were not designed to follow someone else's script. You weren't meant to rehearse a role that was never written for you. You are not here to be a shadow in someone else's spotlight. There is a rhythm to your life, a purpose in your pain, a fire in your spirit that can't be duplicated. And yet, we look to others to define what success looks like, what beauty is, what dreams are worth chasing. We scroll through timelines, compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, and then wonder why we feel like we're not enough. But the truth is, we feel empty not because we lack something, but because we've abandoned who we truly are. When you start believing that being yourself isn't enough, you begin to shrink. You play it safe. You silence your ideas. You mimic others' moves, hoping to achieve their results, forgetting that your breakthrough is buried in your own authenticity. That thing you're trying to hide, the way you think differently, the way you talk, your perspective, your story, that's the very thing that can set you apart and open doors no invitation ever could. The world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs the full expression of you. The world needs your voice, your energy, your truth. It needs the power that comes when you stand in your uniqueness and refuse to be anything less. When you start embracing your originality, something shifts. Your confidence builds not from ego, but from alignment. You're no longer trying to force fit yourself into boxes that were never shaped for your spirit. You stop chasing trends and start creating legacy. You stop blending in and start standing tall in who you were always meant to be. There's a kind of strength that shows up when you finally realize you don't have to become anything. You just have to be. That realization unlocks something in you. It gives you permission to stop apologizing for who you are and start showing up fully. Confidence is not about walking into a room and thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about walking into that room and not needing to compare yourself to anyone at all. It's not loud. It doesn't have to shout or flex. Confidence is calm, it's steady, and it comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you bring to the table. It's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best version of yourself in the world. And that means owning every part of your story. The wins, the losses, the scars, and the shine. See, people confuse arrogance with confidence. Arrogance seeks attention. Confidence seeks growth. Arrogance puts others down to feel high. Confidence lifts others while staying rooted. Confidence doesn't need a spotlight. It becomes the light. And the only way to build that kind of inner strength is to stop outsourcing your value to the world around you. Your worth doesn't come from the number of likes, followers, compliments, or approvals. It doesn't come from titles, trophies, or trends. Real confidence comes when you wake up in the morning and don't feel the need to prove anything to anybody. You move differently when your validation comes from within. Confidence is choosing to own your flaws instead of hiding them. It's walking with your head high, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you're doing the best with what you've been given. It's being able to say, yeah, I made mistakes, but I've learned from them. It's standing on the lessons instead of drowning in the shame. Confidence allows you to stand in your truth, even when it's messy, even when it's complicated, because you understand that perfection isn't powerful, authenticity is. There's something magnetic about someone who's comfortable in their skin. You can feel it when they speak. You can see it in how they carry themselves. They're not trying to be anyone else. They're not adjusting to fit a crowd. They're just locked into who they are. And that alignment is what creates presence. That's what people respect. That's what makes you unstoppable. Because when you start owning your life like it's yours, every decision, every failure, every moment, that's when real confidence starts to grow. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you you're good enough. You just need to recognize the value you already hold. You were built with purpose. You were wired with greatness. And when you start walking like you believe that, the game changes completely. Too many people spend their lives trying to shrink themselves to fit into places they were never designed to belong. They lower their voice, dull their energy, and suppress their greatness just to avoid standing out. They act like being different is something to be ashamed of, when in reality, it's the very thing that makes them powerful. The world doesn't need more people who blend in. It needs people who show up boldly and unapologetically as themselves. It needs people who refuse to wear a mask just to be accepted by those who never really saw them to begin with. You weren't made to live quiet. You weren't built to hide behind the opinions of others. You were born with something inside you that demands expression, that was created to disrupt, to challenge, to inspire. And yet, the moment we start dimming our light, we rob not only ourselves, but the people who were supposed to be impacted by a fire. Playing small might keep you safe, but it will never make you fulfilled. Staying quiet might avoid conflict, but it will never let you feel fully alive. You were meant to take up space, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You're not just here to exist. You're here to leave a mark. It takes courage to be different. It takes strength to stand tall when everyone else is sitting down. But the truth is, your power is found in your difference. The very things you've been hiding, your voice, your background, your ideas, your passion, those are the things that will elevate you. Those are the things that make people pay attention. People don't remember those who fit in. They remember those who had the guts to stand out. The ones who didn't just follow trends, but created their own lane. The ones who didn't wait for permission, but walked like they already had. Stop apologizing for being too much. You weren't made to be palatable for everyone. You weren't made to fit into every crowd. The truth is, you're not for everyone, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Your light will make some people uncomfortable, and that's fine. You weren't made to keep everyone comfortable. You were made to shine, to lead, to awaken something in people simply by being exactly who you are. You don't need to conform. You don't need to be smaller to make someone else feel bigger. The people who are meant for you, the opportunities that are aligned with your purpose, they will find you when you finally stand tall in your full presence confident. Isn't something that magically appears when the spotlight hits or the applause starts rolling in. Real confidence is built in the pool, struggled in the shadows when nobody's watching and the pressure is on. It's easy to feel strong when everything's going your way, when people are cheering you on, when the results are obvious. But the truth is, that version of confidence is temporary, it's surface level. The kind of confidence that lasts, the kind that's unshakable, is born in those moments when you fail, when you fall flat, when you're doubting yourself, but still get up and keep going. That's where the roots grow deep. That's where your foundation is built. It's in the ground that nobody sees. It's in the late nights, the early mornings, the lonely hours where it's just you and your goals. No validation, no spotlight, just discipline, pain, growth. That's the training ground of confidence. When you push through setbacks and learn how to carry yourself with purpose, even when your plan isn't working, that's where self-belief is forged. It doesn't come from ease. It comes from resistance. It comes from walking through fire and realizing you're still standing, still breathing, still moving. Confidence is built every time you choose not to quit. Every time you keep showing up, even when the results don't match the effort. Every time you trust your gut when no one else sees the vision. It's built when you give a speech with your hands shaking, when you take the shot after missing 10 in a row, when you walk into the room knowing you're different and that's your power. It's earned, not handed out. The process of growth, constantly stretching yourself beyond what's comfortable, is what hardens your mindset and prepares you for the moments that truly matter. There's a toughness that comes from fighting for yourself in silence when no one's applauding you, when no one even knows how hard you're working. That's where resilience is formed. That's when you stop needing praise to feel valuable. when you stop doubting yourself based on outside noise. You learn to stand tall in who you are because you've already seen what you're capable of in the dark. You've already proven to yourself that you don't fold under pressure. You don't run from adversity. You rise through it. And that kind of confidence, that's not performative. That's not for show. That's real. That's what gives you the power to walk into any room, any challenge, any storm, and know deep down that you're built for it. Too many people are out here waiting for someone to hand them a green light, waiting for the right time, the right person, the right approval to finally be who they were meant to be. They hold back their ideas, they silence their voices, they put their dreams on pause because they're scared to move without someone else saying, you're ready. But you don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need a stamp of approval to show up fully. That power you're waiting for, it's already in you. It's been there from the beginning. You just haven't trusted it enough to activate it. The world conditioned you to believe you needed a title, a degree, a platform before you could lead, before you could speak, before you could take action. But some of the greatest change makers didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. They looked at their gifts, looked at their struggle, looked at their calling and said, I'm going anyway. That's what power looks like. It's not loud. It's not arrogant. It's not dependent on validation. It's rooted in clarity and conviction. In the deep knowing that you got something inside of you that this world needs. Waiting for permission keeps you stuck. It traps you in cycles of overthinking. It makes you question your own ability. It convinces you to settle, to hold back, to stay small. And every time you hesitate, every time you doubt yourself, you disconnect from your own power. You give the world authority it was never meant to have over your destiny. You stop creating, you stop leading, you stop becoming. But once you realize that no one is coming to save you, that no one can give you what you already possess, everything shifts. When you stop looking outward and start looking inward, you begin to recognize that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You just need to be the most certain. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the first step with boldness. The most powerful people are not the ones who know everything, but the ones who move even when they don't. They speak with authority because they've done the inner work. They trust their path because they've stopped outsourcing their power. You don't need someone to call your name before you rise. You don't need a platform before you speak. You don't need the stars to align before you move. Everything you're waiting for is already within you waiting for. You were wired with potential. You were created with purpose. And the moment you stop asking for permission to use your own voice, the world starts to notice the world isn't changed by people who follow the script, stay in line, or play it safe. It's moved by those who show up real, raw, and unapologetically themselves. The ones who stop pretending, who stop trying to fit into a mold that wasn't shaped for them. When you show up as your true self, flaws, fire, passion, purpose, something shifts in the room. People can feel it. They may not understand it, but they can't ignore it. That's the power of authenticity. It doesn't need to announce itself because its presence is undeniable. It creates impact, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest. We live in a world obsessed with filters, with image, with trying to appear like we have it all figured out. But nobody connects to perfection. People connect to realness. They connect to struggle, to vulnerability, to someone who's been through it and still chooses to stand tall. When you embrace who you are, your story, your background, your beliefs, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror showing people that it's okay to be fully human. That's how you lead. That's how you influence, not by pretending, but by being present, fully present. Showing up real doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you show up anyway. It means you walk into the room with your truth, even if your voice shakes while you speak it. It means you choose integrity over popularity, purpose over approval, alignment over applause. You're not here to please everybody. You're not here to be liked by the masses. You're here to live a life that's honest to who you are. And that kind of life, that's magnetic. That's what draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right breakthroughs. When you stop performing and start being, your energy changes. Your confidence becomes more than skin deep. Your words carry more weight. Your actions hit harder. You no longer need to chase validation because you already know who you are and what you stand for. And when you live like that, people notice. They notice because it's rare to find someone who's not trying to blend in, not trying to fit into every conversation, every trend, every room. Someone who's simply grounded in their own identity, who doesn't flinch when others question them, who doesn't fold under pressure to conform. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs a voice. It needs the kind of courage that says, this is who I am, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's risky. And when you start living from that place, when you stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop filtering, you become a force that can't be ignored. So now it's on you. No more waiting. No more shrinking. No more pretending to be something you're not just to make other people comfortable. This is your time to step into the fullness of who you are. This is your moment to walk like you believe it, to speak like you mean it, and to live like you know there's purpose in your presence. Be confident. Be bold. Be real. Be relentless. But above all, be you. Because the real you is more than enough. The real you is unstoppable. The real you is exactly what the world has been waiting for.